Yeah. Come here. Netflix, anime lover's best friend. Anime. Seen it. Animated Marvel movie, not an anime. Loved it, hated it. Here we go. Ōkami-san and her 7 companions. It's about a high school girl with 7 friends who help people and do them favors. Alright, that sounds innocent enough. Let's check it out. Hello and welcome to the Full Metal Narcissist anime review. I'm your host, Naru the Narcissist, and you know what? People make mistakes for a reason. It's not just so that we can learn from them, but so that we can teach other people about them too. And today, I've decided to educate all of you about a mistake that I made recently. And on that note, this is my review of Ōkami-san and her 7 companions. Ryoko Okami is a 16-year-old student who goes to the very prestigious Otogi High School. She has a strong sense of justice and is always ready and willing to throw her all into a fight in order to protect herself and others. This admirable toughness, along with her generosity and benevolence towards those weaker than her, serve her very well in the Otogi Bank, a school club that does favors for people in exchange for returned favors down the road. She often works with her best friend and roommate, Akaya Ringo, a girl who's sweet and charming on the outside, but cunning and manipulative on the inside. Together, this team of Wolf and Red, and yes, that's very intentional, strike terror into the hearts of the wicked, all of whom look like stereotypical anime punks. One day, as they're walking home from a mission, a mysterious boy from their class follows them and proclaims his love to Ryoko. His name is Morino Ryoshi, a boy who's bold in tongue but shy at heart, who gets terrified whenever somebody stares at him, but only if they think the elongated word stare while they're doing it. With his ability to seamlessly blend into a crowd, he gets recruited into Otogi Bank. And now, the three have to continue working together. Well, that's the setup. I'll save the plot for later because, oh boy. Now, Ōkami-san was produced by J-Staff, the people who produced Index and Toradora, and to say that it's a step down would be putting it nicely. For those who remember it, the animation in Toradora can occasionally look cheap and clunky, like a sketchy pen and ink design that isn't quite finished. There are quite a few shows that default to this style once or twice in order to stretch their budgets, like Samurai 7 and Welcome to the NHK. It's ugly, but taken in small doses, it's not the worst thing in the world. Well, Ōkami-san is presented entirely in this style from beginning to end, and it's kind of difficult to get used to. The backgrounds and landscapes are amazing, but in regards to the characters, it's like K-On!, but a few drafts shy of the final draft. The dub isn't terrible either, but we unfortunately are dealing with another Jamie Marchi stripped. And like usual, I can tell it's her within the first half of episode 1. Have any of you had a weird aunt who tries to look cool by saying all the hip, slangy stuff that she thinks your generation will be able to relate to, even though she just comes off as lame at worst and ironically charming at best? That's Jamie Markey, and that's her writing in a nutshell. Thankfully, she shares her duties with Chuck Huber, so it's not as bad as it could have been. Joel McDonald plays Ryoshi as earnestly as possible, doing a great job making him likable.
I guess she's right about that. Even when Ōkami-san was being attacked, I completely froze.
Monica Rial seems to have a great understanding of her character, and she's able to play every shade of her personality believably.
He still told Ryoko he was in love with her.
Oh.
Oddly enough, the only one who falls flat is Brina Palencia, who would normally be one of my favorites. I'm going to chalk this up to bad casting because she never really seems to own this particular character.
That was a pretty nice move, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, whatever. I'll see you tomorrow.
The most depressing part of the dub is Lucy Christian, who I have come to consider the queen of voice acting, and, frankly, whom I would sell a kidney to meet in person. She plays the part of the narrator, whose job extends far past the intros and outros that you'd expect her to voice. No, she's present through the entire show, talking our ear off the whole time. She dumps exposition on us, makes rude comments about the characters and their bodies. She drowns out the dialogue and basically struggles to find some sort of point for her own existence. Lucy tries to make this character interesting, but even with her behind the wheel, I haven't heard commentary this pointless, cruel, and infuriating since Pitch Perfect.
Sorry, but they'd be a waste to show anyway. I guess Ryoshi decided to take Neko up on his offer.
So, I didn't want to go into the plot earlier, and for my reason, well, the plot of this show is an extensive point of discussion all of its own. This is the basic plot. Ryoko is only pretending to be strong. She's actually scared and girly on the inside, and it's Ryushi's job to warm her icy heart and turn her back to her normal girly self so that he can be strong for her instead. The term sexist gets thrown around a lot, but when the plot of an anime boils directly down to woman not really strong, let man be strong for you, that's a pretty big red flag, particularly when it has to remind you over and over again that the main character isn't actually strong. Yeah, I'm sorry, was she just duking it out in a street fight, boxing style with several armed older men? Was she just putting on a brave face while a much larger group of those men took her down and attempted to fucking violate her? And she's not strong because she's afraid and only pretending to be strong because she likes puppies and girly novels? Do I even have to point out the layers of bullshit at play here? Sorry, but fearless bravery isn't real bravery, it's just stupid recklessness. Being scared but doing the right thing anyway is true courage. I learned that when I was a child from a fucking Olsen Twins Halloween movie, and this show still has a tough time understanding the concept. Oh wait, there's an explanation for it. Spoiler alert, I guess. She pretends to be tough because she got violated by somebody in middle school, and when she tried to report it, nobody believed her and everybody started to hate her for lying. Now, there's a certain nuance to that. She's scared and distrustful because she was violated and never vindicated for it, but she acts tough because she doesn't want it to happen again. Her best friend wants to set her up with a good man so she can slowly undo the damage that was done to her. Makes sense, right? Well, ignoring the troubling implications this idea makes in regards to the creator's attitude towards women, I have to ask, why am I supposed to want to see this change happen? What do I, as the viewer, get out of it? Okay, for the sake of comparison, let's talk about Batman for a moment, because everyone loves talking about Batman. Yes, I know, they have nothing in common. Ryoko became a kick-ass vigilante because something traumatic happened to her in the past, while Bruce Wayne became a kick-ass vigilante because, okay, maybe not all that different. Well, Batman's backstory is so well known that every single incarnation of his story has explored it at some point, with very few changes. Except for Brave and the Bold during daytime hours because we must censor to protect the children from the sound of gunfire. And it ties in perfectly with the development that happens down the road. Now, I'm not the first person to suggest this, But it would be very healthy for Bruce Wayne to just get over his parents' death and give up the crime fighting. He could just put aside his cape and cowl, live life as the wealthy philanthropist playboy he was born to be. He could find a good woman, Catwoman maybe, start a family, and live the American dream. So if it would be in his best interest, why doesn't it happen? Because if it did, nobody would care anymore. The fan base would die off, and the only readers left would be the ones holding on to the hope that it's just some sick dream created by the Mad Hatter. Similarly, seeing Ryoko giving up on her quest for justice would take away what is, to be honest, the only interesting thing about her. Without it, she's just another generic tsundere, punching when she's confused like Naru from Love Hina, who, by the way, is not my namesake. And yet her best friends, and some viewers as well, want to see this development happen. Apparently it's okay for a grown man in a black suit to dedicate his life to being strong and kicking ass, but a teenage high school girl? Work through that shit! And here's my biggest problem with this show. Bigger than my problem with the narrator or with Jamie Marchi's writing. Remember Ryoko's best friend, Ringo, the short girl dressed like Red Riding Hood? These two didn't meet until a year after Ryoko's whatever incident. The person Ringo met is, through and through, with a very damaged tomboy she's trying to change. I'm sorry, but if you think that friendship is trying to change somebody into a better person that you think they can become, you're not a very good friend. Now, back in March, I wrote a review on my blog about a little anime called Ōre-Imo, a title that's more or less the shortened version of My Little Sister Can't Possibly Be This Cute. Guess what it's about? But despite all of its shortcomings, I praise Ōre-Imo for having a cast of characters that make the effort to try and understand and accept each other for who they are, yet at least in the first season. And now, you expect me to be entertained by some bullshit series where an awesome kick-ass character's best friend wants to hook her up with a man so she'll be more ladylike. And you're going to look me in the eye and tell me that Ōkami-san is popular, but Ōre-Imo is actually despised by some people? Are you fucking kidding me? Ōre-Imo's writing was great until the 2013 revival, but Ōkami-san's writing was bad right out of the gate! For the first 6 episodes or so, I didn't mind this show. The chauvinism goes pretty deep, but it was kind of funny a few times. I've seen worse. It was mostly harmless, and the annoying narrator was at least making 1 or 2 good jokes. It was about the halfway point that the low quality of the writing really started to overpower what little good there may have been. It tries to do both comedy and drama, but it never really succeeds in creating a balance between the two. It can actually be pretty damn jarring at times. To summarize, Ōkami-san tries to go to some really serious places while struggling to take itself seriously. They even managed to work ecchi undertones into a CPR scene, for Christ's sakes. I mean, the way that thing was framed, holy crap. After seeing what Ouran High School Host Club is capable of, no anime should ever have an excuse to blend comedy and drama this poorly. There are too many characters, and the ones we get to spend time with normally only get a single episode dedicated to them before they fade back into the background. The narrator wears out her welcome fast and doesn't tell nearly enough funny jokes to justify her presence. And if that's not bad enough, this show actually seems to be terrified of itself. We never see the Otogi Bank actually pursuing a debt because it's terrified of making the characters look unlikable. The constant fairy tale references never really amount to anything important because it's terrified of not being taken seriously. We never find out exactly what happened to Ryoko in middle school, not even close, because it's terrified of upsetting the audience. We never see Ryoji actually ask her out on a date, because it's terrified of exploring how such an exaggerated character would react to normal social interactions. The narrator won't shut the hell up, because it's scared that the writing won't hold up on its own. And they're right, the writing in general is really, really bad. It constantly alternates between being insultingly stupid and just plain boring. The amnesia storyline alone is an episode painful enough to skip.
Ryoko?
That's my name. But who are you?
And the episode where a butler tries to find a bride for his ward is even worse, as he uses an excuse to make shallow, despicable remarks about the entire female cast.
It's a curse, sir. One day that perky shelf will fall down to here. 10 years and you'll see it isn't so.
So passionate about something so absurd.
What a waste.
Before revealing he didn't even be there in the first place. At no point do the characters ever act like real people. And the ending. You know what? Throw up a spoiler tag, because I really fucking need to address this. At the end of the series, a rival school, the respective hell to their heaven, kidnaps several main characters, and just to make things more personal, Ryoko is kidnapped and held hostage by the very man who allegedly did something violation-y to her. I won't tell you how this is resolved, but I'll sure as hell tell you how it isn't resolved. Despite the clear cases of assault and abduction, and others I'm sure, nobody calls the cops, who definitely exist in this universe. We see them a few times. Would it be anticlimactic like the end of Monty Python and the Holy Grail? No, it wouldn't be, because Ryoko was being held captive by the very man who got away cleanly with something we don't know that he did to her. Yeah, it doesn't take Dick Tracy to look at this scenario and start wondering if she'd been telling the truth back then. For the non-spoiler version, you can take the tag down now, guys. The main villain, who's introduced with a promising bang, ultimately fades out with an anticlimactic whimper, promising revenge for a sequel series that will hopefully never come. Well, that's pretty much how the series ends as a whole. Nothing is resolved. And early implications about the village being part of a social experiment filled with fairy tale references amounts to absolutely nothing. I know it's easy to say that someone couldn't write their way out of a paper bag, but it really does seem like someone deliberately was trying to do just that, and failing miserably at it. Let's see Robo Derp come up with a skit for that one.
Come on, dude, that's very stupid. Just take it off.
No, I gotta prove him wrong. I can write out of this.
Okay, how about Hansel and Gretel?
Oh yeah, I know. I'll write them as an incestuous sibling couple. Oh, I know. And I'll write the three little pigs as terrorists. You know, in the original story, the three little pigs get their house blown in by the wolf. But in the anime, they can be terrorists trying to blow up the wolf's school. It's subversive.
No, it's not. It's not subversive. That's very fucking stupid.
I disagree. And I'll have a cafe shop named Cafe Grim.
Why don't you just poke a hole in the paper... Why don't you just poke a hole in the paper bag and just wouldn't that work?
Because it doesn't count. I'm not writing out of the bag. I'm just poking holes to breathe.
Damn you, Robo-Derp! Strictly speaking, Ōkami-san isn't the worst anime I've ever seen. It's not even on my bottom 10. But you know what? I still hate it. I don't even hate the anime I once gave a 0 out of 10, but I hate this anime. And trust me, there's a very, very small list of anime that I flat out hate. It's bad enough that it's stupid, full of shit, and blatantly sexist. But the way it approaches the subject of rape just tips the scales entirely against it. I haven't seen every anime, so I could be wrong about this. But outside of hentai, rape is a subject that doesn't exist in the medium. It can be joked about or threatened, but it doesn't actually happen, and it doesn't get dealt with. This is one of the reasons that Now and Then, Here and There, recommended, is such a rare gem. Any anime that introduces a plot point about one of its characters being raped and actually explores the repercussions and recovery of the attack could easily be considered a groundbreaking series. What frustrates me the most about Ōkami-san is that by introducing the rape implications in a lazy attempt to explain Ryoko's character, they actually come really close to pulling this off, only to pussy out at every turn. They vaguely introduce a subject when needed, then drop it cold and try to make us forget about it until the next time it's needed. I know it isn't fair of me to wholeheartedly condemn this series because of what I wanted it to be rather than what it was, but what it was no peach, okay? Ōkami-san and her 7 companions was dubbed by Funimation and can be viewed for free on Netflix. You can also find a lot of other anime on Netflix that don't suck, so don't even bother with this festering field full of fairy tale feces. It isn't well written, it isn't well produced, it just isn't well. I gave it a 4 out of 10 the first time I watched it, but now that I've watched it twice, I think it's much more appropriate to give this series a 2 out of 10. I'm the Full Metal Narcissist, and you're welcome. I am so sorry. Hey, I'm so sorry. You are better than that show. Let's watch something else. Oh. Cat Planet Cuties. You want to see that, don't you?
Okay, to be fair, most of what the Narcissist is true.
He didn't like the show either.
But he's doing this on purpose, and that's the point of this, because the narrator freaking screws this one. Also, there's so many things that are good about this, but it falls so short.
He doesn't like turtles at all.
That is a lie. Okay, Turtle Girl was probably one of the stronger points of the show, only on the grounds that she had a character who had only one purpose and wasn't bipolar about it. It was get the guy, get him, freaking get him, and it was okay. It was fair enough, fine, whatever. The relationship in the show falls kind of flat, but it's only because of the last 2 episodes, and it's really kind of a bummer. They negate all the emotional connections simply on the grounds that he just gets freaking stared at and drops, and she just immediately shuts down. There's so many points in the show where she becomes vulnerable only to have it fall because he doesn't do anything. Not only that, there's so many points where he should have gotten over this phobia with her, around her, and he doesn't.
By the way, this is the guy who had the bag on his head.
Yes, I had the bag on my head for this review. I don't mind that. It was fine. It proved the point fine. The fairy tale references are great. I mean, it did make the story, but they could have done it without it, and it probably would have been better. The pumpkin carriage, it's overdone with this fairy tale crap, and there's no need for it. If the point was to have them be in a relationship, but it doesn't end with them in a relationship, then where did we go? Not only that, if she has 3.5 years of boxing, we're talking from 8th grade to 11th grade, okay? If she got somewhere or something in the middle there, then you got 3.5 years of her boxing career. There's no chance in hell that this guy is going to be able to protect her when he can't even...
Not just boxing, but kitty boxing.
Yeah, kitty boxing. But there's no point to this, because he can't protect her even if he wants to. So why doesn't he just emphasize that he likes her for her casual side, the side that doesn't want to, beat people in the face? But I don't get why he does that. I mean, he can come out of a corner after stalking her for all this time, so he knows that she's a competent fighter, and there's no need for protection. So why does she think that it's A, or he thinks it's necessary, A, and B, if he can boldly just say, I love you, why doesn't he just come out and say, I know what you do, and I love that? I mean, she blatantly asks him, what about me do you love? And he can't for the life of him say it, but for some reason he can say that he loves her without the emotion he doesn't understand. It's confusing. I agree with him, but I don't think it deserves a 2, honestly, because it does... It's...
And this is the point where we disagree.
Yeah, he doesn't like it. I think it's a 4, honestly. It's bad, but...
I thought it was a 4 the first time, too.
Well, yeah, fair enough. If it wasn't for that, the narrator really does kill it. She needs to shut the hell up and let them talk. But that's my rant. I'll see you later. Robo Derp on some last thoughts here. Apparently, King Jack Philly was left out on this one, so any thoughts on the show, King Jack?
Nope, didn't like it. The nerd was a killer.
Oh, you're all just haters.
Yeah. Man, can we get a dub without the narrator, please?